We've got a pretty cool video for you today. We really didn't have much planned. And when I was at work, I was talking with a client about some local history. Around the town of Caldwell, there was a U.S. Navy blimp called the USS Shenandoah. It was passing through the Midwest on a tour, and it had experienced a rather strong storm when it was in the area, was ripped to pieces and crashed in multiple areas outside of Caldwell. So I thought it would be really cool if we went up into that area, kind of investigated some of the crash sites, and visit memorials and infographs along the highway and along some of these farms and learn more about this little piece of U.S. history.
The USS Shenandoah, a pioneering U.S. Navy rigid airship, met its tragic end on September 3, 1925, during a promotional flight over Ohio. The Shenandoah encountered severe thunderstorms, and violent winds tore the airship apart, splitting it into 3 pieces. Of the 43 crew members aboard, 14 lost their lives, including its commander, Lieutenant Commander Zachary Lansdowne. The wreckage scattered across Noble County, Ohio, marking one of the earliest airship disasters in U.S. history. The Shenandoah's demise highlighted the dangers of rigid airships in extreme weather and influenced future airship design and operations.
On the way to the crash site, there's a pretty cool little monument here. It's actually a memorial to Johnny Appleseed. He had a little bit of a presence in Ohio. I'll pause and I'll let you read that little memorial right there. All right, to get to the crash site, you got to go by a little town called Moundsville. And I always wondered if there was an Indian mound, and you could look up on this hill here, and right at the very top, you could see where the prominence of the hill changes really steeply. And it almost looks exactly like Indian mounds look like when they're on tops of hills. Now, I can't confirm, it's just my suspicion, but right about where those trees are right there is where the alleged mound is. So we got on the other side of the prominence where I told you it looked like a mound, and you can see at the top the way it just changes distance. It's like real flat here, and it just goes up to like a 7% grade. 90% sure that is an Indian mound on top of that hill. All right, after the first memorial sign for the crash site, you actually come to the memorial site. And you got a little infograph there that talks about everything that we talked about earlier. Old stone here with a little granite memorial that's got what looks like a bronze sculpture and then a plaque. We'll zoom up real close and you can pause and read. It's kind of hard to read it. Got a katydid here on the memorial. That's pretty cool. All right, I think we're here now. I see a little sign. Yep, take a look at it. All right, there is an old garage here. Rayner's Garage. We're in Ava, Ohio. Established 1929. And then there's an old mile marker. This resembles the mile markers that I would see up on the US 40. We'll have to look into that and see what that's about. Now out that way is crash sites 1 and 2, I think it said. All right, here's the memorial for it. Crashed the USS Shenandoah. On a stormy autumn morning, 1925, the giant Navy airship christened Shenandoah crashed near this site. Initially, the Shenandoah was commissioned to perform scouting missions for the Navy. However, she would soon be flying promotional missions. The Shenandoah had recently begun a 6-day publicity tour across the Midwest when she crashed. The turbulent weather of late summer created strong winds, which ripped the 680 feet long Shenandoah in two and tore the control car from the keel. A majority of the 14 crewmen who died in the crash, including Captain Lieutenant Commander Zachary Lansdowne of Greenville, Ohio, were killed when the control car plummeted to the ground. The stern section fell in a valley near Ava, and the bow was carried southwest nearly 12 miles before landing near Sharon, Ohio. The Ohio National Guard was called in to control the crowds of spectators who traveled to the crash sites. All right, U.S. Shenandoah crash sites 1 and 2. We're gonna try to check at least one of these out. Get out on the way to the crash site. This guy's got a camper, and he's got the Shenandoah memorialized on it. That's pretty cool. Alrighty, getting closer. Alright, to get to this part of the crash site, you gotta go out this windy old country road. Now, we're not gonna be able to make it to all the crash sites today. I'll look those up on the internet. We'll talk a little bit about those, and if I can find some pictures of them, I'll show them to you. We're almost to site 1 here in just a second. Alright, it looks like we're here. Alright, this one's a quaint little place. You can hear the highway in the background there, but if it wasn't for that, this would be out in the middle of nowhere. And back then there was no interstate, so it probably did feel like the middle of nowhere. It looks like we got the same kind of infograph there. I'll get a picture of it and y'all can read it. There's a lot there to read. We'd be here for 10 minutes as slow as I read. And we got a nice little, kind of like a gravestone here, a little memorial. USS Shenandoah crashed over Noble County, September 3rd, 1925. Control car Site 1, Noble County Bicentennial Commission. And it's got some hedges and Old Glory flying above it. It's pretty well kept. It's a very nice little field here. All right, so that thing opens. So we got a couple pictures of that I'll put right after this video, and you can pause and read it. There's a lot of cool information on it.